Long time ago, a friend of mine and I were talking. Jim Nicholson. Nick to me. Don't judge me. Yes, it's that Jim Nicholson. The subject was the problems at the agency. Nick said to me then, he said, things were fine until the lawyers took over. I want you to keep in mind that this was long before the scheme to deceive American voters about the Biden corruption laptop of 2020. This was long before the 2016 phony claims of Russian collusion. This is both of those schemes, by the way, were targeting Trump, and both of those schemes involving notorious names of the IC, the intel community. Both schemes were really just political operations designed to influence elections. And by the way, that's illegal. See Title 50, subsection 3001, section 2.13, or at 73 Federal Registry 45325, section 2.11, and even Executive Order 13284. Anyway, I recognize that it's kind of hypocritical for me to talk about 2.11 or 1.8, but here it is. The problem isn't a mission problem. The problem is a personnel problem. So what was it that Nick was telling me back then? Well, here it is. There are people within the agency. The agency is not an entity by itself. It's just a bunch of people. There are people within the agency who have figured out how to use the structure of it to effectuate their agenda. Now, that's not a problem if the agenda is the agency's actual mission, which is America's interests. But it's a huge problem when the agenda becomes ideological. The CIA's mission is not compatible with ideological battles. Now, by lawyers, Nick really means those ideologues. They are the catalysts, what we now see as the reason, or reasons, I guess, for the public's distrust. And that's not an unearned distrust these days, and it's really because of those ideologues that they must be purged. Now, how did those ideologues get there, particularly the collectivists, Brennan, Morell, Panetta, Goss, Hayden, and all those people who kind of spend their, underneath there, that spend their time satisficing in the real mission, but then all that becomes secondary to them while they advance their ideology, using the tools in their network. So who are those people? Who are the collectivist ideologues? They are the Langley-bound people from the other side of the house, the analysts. And because they are the ones playing at the political, and let me put in parentheses here, ass-kissing, game, it's the analysts, the denizens of the DI, the Directorate of Intelligence, which end up promoted to the 7th floor. So where do they come from? That's exactly the right question to ask, because they are the ones that are the seeds and the roots of the problem. The 7th floor, staffed by analyst-centric ideologues, and because they protect themselves by promoting from within themselves, birds of a feather, all rooted in the morass of collectivist academia, particularly from the 5 signatures. The pool of people which feeds that pipeline to the 7th floor are the same group of socialists and collectivists of the universities. And as soon as they go through their CAPS, their CAPS, they start playing that political game, which means they're forsaking the CIA's actual mission, which is America's interest, for their own. This is the pipeline that Trump could actually stop, and it's very, very simple. DCI, make this rule. The DCI staff must come from the DO. The name is now changed. These days they call it the CS, the clandestine service. Preferably even the DCI himself. Either DO, CS, support, or even the DST. But anyone in the DI should be automatically disqualified from DCI staff or 7th floor, and maybe even including the DDI himself, because it's the men and the women of the DO, now called the CS, who live in flyover country, who live amongst the real Americans, who live normalish lives, who go to normal restaurants and schools, and who attend normal universities and get normal degrees. These are the people that the 7th floor should be pulling from, not the Langley-bound collectivists. So here's the new rule. you live within 30 miles of Langley or DC, you are disqualified from the 7th floor. If you're in the DI, you are disqualified from the 7th floor because a dish is only as good as its ingredients, garbage in, garbage out, whatever cliche it is that you want to use. But stopping that pipeline of Signature University, i.e., agenda-driven collectivists, to CIA above deck is the fix because it's not a mission problem, it's a personnel problem. Long time ago, a friend of mine and I were